wonderful. I didn't think that was possible. Thank you so much for coming tonight. This is our first of 4 upcoming community forums by the South County Senior Center to share information with the community here and at home, to let them know what we're pursuing. And that space right now is 112 Amherst Road in Sunderland, is a potential new senior center. My name is Jennifer Ferrara. I'm the director of the South County Senior Center. And tonight you will be able to ask questions and interact with myself and members of our Board of Oversight and other members of our staff and community. I just want to share our Board of Oversight oversees the South County Senior Center. The Board of Oversight is made up of 3 members, 1 from each of the 3 towns that are represented. We have Joyce Palmer Fortune, who is the chair and the select board member from Whately. We have Trevor McDaniel, who is a member of the Board of Oversight, who is also a select board member from Deerfield, and Daniel Murphy, who is the representative from the select board from Sunderland. To Dan's left is program coordinator Tom Patria and outreach coordinator Chris Goudreau. And now a word from our members. Tonight you're going to hear from 5 seniors who attend the Senior Center regularly and learn about their experiences and why they support a new center for the South County Senior Center. Marianne Sadowski from Whately.
Okay. Thank you for speaking. Oh, you're welcome. I've been a member of the Senior Center for over 20 years. And when I joined the Senior Center, it was known as Frontier Senior Center, and we were, our center was located in what you now call the Building 1888. When the building was closed to the Senior Center, we were moved outside, and that one summer, and we were under a tent, and all our events and programs took place there. Well, summer went along, and we were going into fall, and now the weather is changing, it's getting cold. So we were relocated to the parish hall at Holy Family Church. And there we stayed till after COVID. And from there we went to what was known as the former bicycle shop in Sunderland, which is on Route 116. That's where we are now. It's kind of small for all the things that we do. And parking leaves a lot to be desired. All of our events and programs take place in each of the 3 towns, and that gets to be kind of confusing because you need to pay attention where you're going on that given date and what town's going to be in and actually where. I had the opportunity to tour the 112 building in Sunderland, and I was amazed at how well that building had been maintained over the years. The landscaping has been kept up, and the building itself is just so spacious. And it would give ample room for all the events and programs that Jennifer and her staff put together. I look at the surrounding towns, and I see the surrounding towns having put up a senior center for their seniors, and I think now it's time, we're due to have a place of our own. And my ending statement is, I enjoy going to the Senior Center. I've been going for years. Jennifer and her staff offer interesting events and programs. Tom offers interesting field trips that we go on. Our field trips always end with going out to lunch at some nice restaurant before we come back home. I find the events and programs very interesting. I like going to the Senior Center because, for one thing, I like being with people, I like being involved, and I like volunteering. And it's a great place to go if you like to be busy and if you like to meet people. I would suggest that you check us out.
Thank you, Marianne. Our next speaker is Xiaoling Su, a resident of Sunderland.
Thank you, Jen. So the compared to Marianne, I'm a relatively young member of the senior center, okay? But not by age. I'm not that much. We're very close in age. So I actually worked at Honeywell before I came to UMass, and I stayed at UMass for 46 years. Okay? So after I retired, I figured I really need some new friends, okay? Because all my the association have been professional at the university, and I really have very few friends outside the university. Okay? And I found the senior center at that time was the building here, not far from here. It actually was a great place, and that's why we're here to solicit support to establish a center. Because the center, it provides exactly as said before, a community. Okay? The coherence, having one place is very, very important. So I actually when Jennifer asked me to say a few words, I thought about my own benefits from having a coherent, the senior center. So we started with actually lunch. Okay? And there's nothing like food that bonds people. Okay? And so it used to be every Friday we will have lunch together. Okay? And that was such wonderful experience. I really found a lot of new friends. Okay? And now we still do, except it's kind of fragmented. Okay? Because we have, for example, the nurse at the one center. Some of the social activity takes place at the church, Polish American Club, and the Whately Town Hall, Whately Inn. So you can see actually spread out quite a bit. Okay? So as I said, when I joined the center, I really found a lot of new friends and also a very coherent community. Okay? And so I look at this, I do, as Marianne says, I go on trips with, I guess, mostly Chris and Tom drive. I don't particularly like to drive anymore. Okay? And so the driving is very, very important. And having a place that we actually see movies together, that's another activity that interesting. So it was actually quite good. The projectors and so on could be improved, but that's all right. But this again is having a center. One can establish kind of a pattern, and also kind of the facility. One can actually stay. One can do the Tai Chi, yoga in one place. Okay? One can have the meals in one place. Okay? And so one can have movies. So there's a lot of different activity having a one center that actually will provide. Okay? As I said, I really don't want to go on much longer, but it's really, I just think having a community, established community, learning about a new community for people like me to retire from a totally different community and join a new community is a very important one. And I think having a center in one place instead of traveling to various places would enhance that experience for all the new members and the current members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shaw. Our next speaker also lives in Whately, Marge West. Yeah, if you want to turn and face, do you want to use?
My name is Marge West. I'm in Whately, and I'm really a pretty new resident here. And what the Senior Center provides me for is my physical and mental well-being. To be there is so engaging with other members and with fellowship. I can't say enough of how wonderful they all are at the center. It also provides me with information on what is going on, like I'm learning now, with the community and in the world. And also what it does, it prevents me from being isolated in my home. It gets me out and gets me motivated. And I know when I get escorted out of that facility, I am much better off and much happier than when I was escorted in. And that is due to the 3 employees who are kind, caring, hardworking, and professional. I ask all of you to please consider giving them the facilities so that they can expand this program and encompass more people in the community. It's a win-win situation for all of us. Thank you.
Behind you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marge. Our next speaker is Carol Ryan, a resident of Sunderland.
Thank you. So I think we're getting slightly onto the repetitive end of things, but I think everybody's experience is a little bit different. I moved to Sunderland not that long ago, and I was still working full-time for about 4 years. And when I retired, I was like, well, if I needed to know something or if I had questions, I used to ask my coworkers. So what the heck do I do now? As it turned out, there was a woman in my neighborhood who had started a knitting circle in the library. So and I had not been in Franklin County. I mean, I had no idea where you went for anything. So it turned, and I'm, the first time I'm retired, I've got all the free, I can do whatever the hell I want. Why, I can knit at home, I don't have to knit here. But the first day I went, I'm listening to people talk about things happening in the town and where you go to do things. I'm like, oh, this is what this is about. This is a good thing. That's fantastic. And then as things go on, it's like, well, then there's other, you need an outlet. As everybody has said, you need a way to find things out. You need support. It's very simple, but I don't understand why this has become like hard to just get a consolidated center where you know what's going to happen, you know where to go, the resources are there, this is how you find them. That's kind of, that's what I had.
Thank you. Our next speaker from the community is Nikki Stoya, a Deerfield resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone. So the bases are loaded here, and I think I'm the mop-up batter. So I hope this works. I'm going to have a different take on things because I believe there are so many things about the senior center that people probably don't know about or don't really understand. So this is a different perspective, sort of from a different senior here. So again, I welcome the opportunity to speak here in support of a new senior center in the proposed Sunderland location. I've lived in Sunderland or South Deerfield for over 32 years, and I've owned a home first in Sunderland and now in South Deerfield for 28 of those years. As part of the taxes I've paid during those years, I've supported various infrastructure improvements, school and library improvements, and basically what it takes to run a town. My husband, back there, and I have never had any children in either school system. I met him when his children were much older. But we have understood the importance of supporting what it takes to keep the town where we live running properly and supporting the education of our youth so they can take their place as successful and responsible members of our or any other community. We believe that the right thing to do is to support all segments of our population: youth, young, middle-aged, older adults, and seniors. Supporting a new senior center at the Sunderland location is no different than making sure, for example, that we support having a proper high school, like this one, for our students. I always point out to people that the South County Senior Center provides programming for folks aged 55 and up, and a number of events are open to the general public. I'd like to remind people, as an example, that Representative Jim McGovern came to the Senior Center to speak to everyone. We hosted him. Those of us like myself who are involved with the Senior Center are not just sitting around playing bingo. Bingo's cool, but it's one of the many, many, many social offerings at the Senior Center. I participate in the 3-day-a-week enhanced fitness class, which is a pretty good workout of cardio with weights, and yoga. And there are 2 variations of that yoga. We have a straight-up yoga class that's chair yoga and also the standing poses. and what's called balance in motion, where you do yoga with weights. At age 68, I maintain a really dense schedule as a professional classical pianist, singer, and conductor. I'm the director of the Springfield Symphony Chorus, and I'm working on a part-time, post-retirement music department appointment at UMass, where I was a music department faculty member, and I was associate dean for the College of Humanities and Fine Arts. Keeping in good physical condition is vital to my maintaining a demanding schedule. I perform in many concerts and recitals during the year, so I really, really need to maintain this good physical condition. I'm going to have an aside here, and I haven't even told Jen this because it happened to me today. So currently, I am doing some physical therapy for a muscle I tore, not during the classes, but merely by going up a step. So the physical therapist was assessing my physical condition, and so I'm doing all these things and whatever. And she said, wow, you're really strong. You're in good condition. I said, well, am I in good condition for age 68? She said, honey, you're in good condition for age 50. That's not an accident. That's because this is my third year now doing all these classes at the senior center. Because now I'm at that point in my life where even though I still work a tremendous amount of hours, I get to put aside those hours for the senior center class. And I do everything I can not to schedule doctor's appointments or any other thing I have to be at during those times because they're so important to me. In closing, I just want to say how truly blown away my husband and I were when we toured the very well-maintained and spacious Sunderland facility, as it is the obvious choice to support all the programs that the Senior Center offers. In addition, it has sufficient and safe parking, so no one is having to cross a street in traffic or drive around to try and find a parking space. I truly look forward to seeing us have our South County Senior Center at the Sunderland location before I drop dead. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Nikki. Chris.
All right. This is going to be up here. I'm going to go sit in front of it and come back to Q&A. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Chris Gaudreau, our outreach coordinator. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do on a day-to-day basis at the Senior Center. So one of the things I focus on in my role as outreach coordinator is food assistance and connecting folks with different resources in our community. We are a SNAP processing site. So if you've ever seen the EBT cards and anyone using those at the store, that's a lot of times SNAP or HIP, which is a Healthy Incentive Program where you can get additional monies for fresh produce. But we can process folks for SNAP on site at the Senior Center, if you didn't know that. We are a DTA partner as well. That is how we are authorized to process SNAP. And we do a number of other different programs related to food. For instance, on the first Thursday of every month, we have our Brown Bag program that is in partnership with the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. That is exactly what it sounds like. It's a brown bag full of a lot of shelf-stable food, and that comes once a month. A lot of times I deliver those bags to homebound seniors in our community. And we also have a partnership with the Franklin Area Survival Center the second Wednesday of each month, where folks come and go through a line, pick out whatever items they would like for food. We usually help folks deliver those items to their car, and a lot of times it's fresh produce that's been donated to us directly from the Franklin Area Survival Center. As well, we have, now we're well in winter, and one of the things people are thinking about is fuel assistance. So I'm authorized through Community Action Pioneer Valley. I've received training every year to process HEAP applications. That's Home Energy Assistance Program. So that'll help offset folks every year with their energy bills, whether that's electrical, oil, gas. That's a very valuable resource to connect folks with in our community. Next, transportation. So one of the things we have at the Senior Center, thanks to Jen, we got a grant, I think over $100,000. $90,000 for a 14-passenger van. In addition, we have a 7-passenger van, and we do transportation for medical appointments, groceries, for programming coming to the center, whether that's bingo, exercise classes, and I coordinate that program. So it's about 2 days notice. You can reach out to me to schedule rides for a variety of different things that I mentioned. In addition, our offices, we have one-on-one private consultations. So a lot of the times I'm meeting exclusively in private with folks to ensure, that privacy is respected. So that's the HEAP application, SNAP. But if you have any questions about, like, say you want to connect with a lawyer to get a will drawn, I can give you resources and connect you with some options for organizations in our community, like community legal aid. That's just one example of many. I try to speak with people on a daily basis to see what's going on in their lives, and maybe there's ways that I can help them connect with the resources that they don't even realize that they need. And I just want to thank you all for your time again and being here tonight. And hopefully with a new center, we'll have many. Our programs will all be under one roof. I know one of the benefits that it'll give me is additional privacy to meet with clients. So drumming isn't going on in the background or any other sort of events. So thank you all.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. So I just want to share some statistical data, that we've been able to attain over the past few years. We've worked with UMass Boston Gerontology for multiple needs assessments. We're actually just finalizing the details for an action plan over the next few years, and we have some meetings coming up about that. But in 2021 to 2022, with the support of the towns of Whately and Sunderland, Deerfield took a grant that they had to do a needs assessment. It was spearheaded by Chief Pachorik at the time, because the center was without a director for about 7 months before I came on board. Those who responded to this information we were able to capture a lot of good data. Did you know by 2035, 37% of our 3 towns will be 60 and older? The South County Senior Center has seen an increase in demand over the last few years, especially with the federal budget cuts that people have been facing. A lot more folks have become eligible for additional resources, and we've been able to provide them through Chris's outreach. We've also been able to increase our community partner relationship. We've also provided a informational fair and cruise night that's become a staple of our outreach activities by bringing in around 20 plus community partners to one event where folks who may not normally ask for assistance are able to now connect and meet those folks. We have 23% of the residents who responded to this survey, which was around 1,360 folks out of our 3,027 residents in all 3 towns. Deerfield has 1,639 older adults 60 and over, Sunderland has 844, and Whately has 544. So we found that 23% of those residents live alone. You will hear us refer to them as solo agers because they don't have a support system. And in order to maintain living in their home by themselves independently, they reach out to the Senior Center and other organizations that we refer them to maintain that independence. 45% of those 60 and above who responded live alone. They may not be solo agers, but they still live by themselves. 80%, 80 and above. My apologies. 10% of residents 65 and above have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but that number is likely underreported because during COVID, a lot of people did not go out of their home. Some people continue to isolate, and they did not have access to medical appointments due to lack of transportation and other things, such as not wanting to take public transportation. And a lot of medical practices went to telehealth, so if you didn't have Zoom or know how to use that or have access to any online digital programs, you weren't able to access that. A lot has changed since, and over the last few years, the Senior Center applied for and obtained 2 large grants through the Department of Aging and Independence, formerly the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, totaling over $220,000. We were able to distribute iPads at no charge to over 171 older adults within our 3 towns through a lottery, and then provide training on how to use that technology. And once the training classes were done, seniors got to keep those devices and still come in to ask questions and get information to use them regularly. Sorry, I guess I didn't hit the button hard enough this time, and last time it did. There we go. So, what's behind the numbers that you're going to see? We've had a steady increase in services and programs that we are currently offering at the center. Over the last couple of years, since I started, there was myself as a full-time employee and one other staff person at 15 hours. A couple months later, we hired an additional staff person who was part-time at the time. And then we were able to, after they were on board for a year, able to get their hours increased to full-time. At the time, we were able to provide 40 hours of work to support the center. But when grant funding ran out, that went back to 35 hours. And then in 2024, we hired our program coordinator, and that position went from 15 hours a week to 19, and then with grant funding and then support of our Board of Oversight and the towns, we're able to get that position to 35 hours a week, which has been a really great benefit for the community. The previous unmet needs in our community are finally beginning to be addressed because we have adequate staffing. But one of the detractors you'll see is that we are over capacity for the spaces that we occupy. We have a cutoff if people want to come to a larger event. We have a Friendsgiving we host annually, and unfortunately we reach capacity at the Polish Club. And we have to turn folks away, which is unfortunate. By having everything in one space, we would be able to do multiple seatings, which would definitely be beneficial. I'm going to turn it now over to Tom Patria, our program coordinator. Oh, wait, go back. Here you go. Sorry. Sometimes I think I hit it too hard and that doesn't work. Technology is not always user-friendly. Mia, could you hit it to the next slide, please? Oh, never mind. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, I was hitting back there, but it wasn't working.
Good evening, folks. Tom Patria, Program Coordinator. As of last week, I've been with the Senior Center for 2 years, and it's been a wild ride. Thank you. A lot of fun. So last year, or actually almost a year and a half ago, we surveyed our members, and they told us what you want as far as programs. So I like to think that we've been able to deliver for them. We're doing a little bit of everything between, we've started a brunch brigade. We go out to eat. We go on field trips, and we go out to eat. We do musical performances, and we have snacks, and a lot of great events. Physical, working on your body, your mind, cultural events. So it's been a lot of fun. The only problem is we're doing it at a lot of different locations. And I'm the one that's running around to a lot of these locations. And of course, our main headquarters there at 22 Amherst Road. We make do with the space that we have, and we've put on some great events there. But then again, we have to go to the First Congregational Church at the corner for our monthly food truck. And some of our larger events, like our Valentine's Day party will be there. Our Halloween party was there. We'd love to have it in the center, but we just don't have the capacity. We definitely don't have the parking for that. Whately Town Hall for our enhanced fitness classes, which Mary Ann and Nikki take part in. It's a great location, but we can only hold 25 people. And we also have some concerts there. It's a wonderful space. We don't have to pay for it, which does help. But they have limited parking as well, but luckily the Whately Inn does allow for overflow. And of course, for folks that are involved in our balance and chair yoga classes, we have Cadence Yoga down the street from us in Sunderland. And as Jen said, the Polish Club for the larger, the Friendsgiving, the St. Patrick's Day, holiday party, things of that nature. They've got a commercial kitchen, which really helps, and maybe someday we could have one so we don't have to keep going off-site to have all these events. Chris goes to Deerfield Town Hall once a month for the brown bag distribution, and we still have opportunities to do things over Zoom. That has kind of calmed down, especially as we've gotten past the pandemic. Folks want to be in person. They want to talk to people, meet people, make friends, be a part of a community. So that option is still available. It's not as popular as it used to be, but it's still available for folks. So this is just a little snapshot of last year in my role. I was asked to do a little bit of an analysis of my time. And going through 2025, last year, prep time, that's getting ready for events. Packing up, loading up, driving, 16 and a half hours last year to just prepare for an event. And that doesn't include making photocopies, things of that nature. So 16 and a half hours of my time was spent just preparing. Travel time, round trip from Sunderland to Whately, Whately to Sunderland to the church to the Bang Bang. Over 78 hours were spent of my time were spent in the car going to all these different locations. Time before and after each event, that's the setup of the coffees and the drinks and the snacks and this and that, and then cleaning up afterwards. Almost 175 hours was spent. So in total, 270 hours, or well, we'll round it down to 269. That's a lot of time. I mean, what could I do if I got that time back? I would do more. I would do more. And the big thing is based on my hourly wage, it's $6,100 of all this, and that's non-programmatic. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of waste of me running around. And I love to be able to, stay in one place because I'm getting old too, Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. That was great. So these are two photos of folks participating in events at our 22 Amherst Road location. You'll see on the left side we have our knitting group. We were able to utilize one of the hybrid programming grants to purchase different items to contribute, including yarn and tech in teaching time. And on your right, you'll see folks coming in to do watercoloring classes. We were able to hire a professional art teacher to come in to teach and also provide all of the supplies with the hybrid grant that we received as well. Now this next section might bore you if you don't like numbers, but this is how I can share with you the change in what we've had since 2018 based on recorded data using My Senior Center, which is a database that we pay for and that I go in and pull annual reports. And I'm really good at this. I like finance to an extent. I love being social, but I like also being able to provide analytical data, qualitative and quantitative, to be able to share what we're actually accomplishing at the Senior Center. When I first started, at the end of this month will be 4 years that I've been on board. I was told I needed to make sure that I had all my numbers for the Whately Finance Committee because the previous directors have never provided that. I was like, sure, this has got to be easy. Well, if you know Whately, you don't have one zip code. So that took a little bit of an analyzation, but we were able to create groups and to make sure the data is accurate. And Tom and Chris will tell you that I'm a stickler. Did you put this person in the right category? Is it work? And we do that probably twice a month. So this gives you an idea of active membership over time. 2018, 19, 20, we're all at the 67 North Main Street, and then outside in a tent, and then in Holy Family Parish Church in 2021. So that time in 2018, you had 7 members of the Senior Center from Whately, 93 from Deerfield, 18 from Sunderland, with 118 total members from South County. And then you'll notice other towns, because like you like to go when you're younger, go bar hopping, I have seniors who love to go senior center hopping. And that's really important, because when you make friends and you like the programming offered, you will go. So we had a grand total of 152 seniors attending the South County Senior Center in 2018. Not bad. It increased in 2019 to 204. Unfortunately, with COVID, a lot of things contributed to that. So membership participation, or active members, went to 130, then down to 123. And then in 2022, people started coming out of their homes because the pandemic was lessening and people were thrilled to be socializing again. We went up to 317, 418 in 2023, 485 in 2024, and last year, 718. We must be doing something right. So participation. So the last slide you saw has membership, so active members. So if you look at that first number of a 7, and for Whately resident, they participated. Let's see if the slides will work again. 270 times. So they came to center, they had a coffee, they had a congregate meal, they came and had a good time with friends. For Deerfield, there was 93 people who came and participated 4,762 times. That's pretty cool. Sunderland, 891. For the amount of participation in that 2018 for South County, the 3 towns, 5,923. That's really great. And then from surrounding towns, those 34 folks came over 1,282 times. So maybe they like to come play bingo. I know we have a few people on Mondays who come from other towns, or they don't have an active senior center. We have folks from Conway, we have folks from Leverett, but we even get people who come from Florence, from Northampton, because they have friends here and they want to be with their friends. Then as we progress, you'll see 2019, we're still going up. That's great. 2020, we go down again. 2021, we're really low. But the pandemic and being outside and all of the different changes, have affected numbers and participation. And that's normal. 2022, we bounce up again. We have 6,639 participations from the 3 towns. And with the other towns included, we're at 7685. 23, we're increasing that by doubling it to 14,165 for South County. Add the other towns, we're up to 16,378. To this year, we had 28,255 people for 2025 come to the South County Senior Center or interact. And one of the things that I want to stress is that sometimes a member, say Larry out in the audience here, has a question. Hey, Jen, I need to know where I can find this resource. Hey, Larry, here's the information. And that's a touch, because we are a resource to our members in the community. Sometimes we get random phone calls where people will just say, hi, I live in Deerfield. I am taking care of my mom. I need to know where I can find Meals on Wheels or get transportation. I saw that you offer transportation. How do I do that? So all of those are interactions with our community and are of real value. Before that, We did a postcard mailing a few years ago through a grant through Mass Council on Aging through their service incentive grant. We mailed out postcards to the community letting people know, hey, we're here, this is what we do. I had a gentleman who lived in Sunderland for over 14 years, had no idea they had a senior center. So we started advertising and marketing and becoming more visible. And that was something that was brought up during the needs assessment from UMass. And we've really tried to help fix that. So you'll see here the average participation per person. So we took the number of people, took the participation amount of times that they came, and you'll see the average person from Whately has attended 42 times a year or interacted. Deerfield, 40 times. Sunderland, 41. For the three towns for South County, about 41 per person. The other towns, about 32. So that knocks our average down by 2 individuals for 39. And you look at the aggregate numbers on the right-hand side to show the time period from 2018 to 21, and then 22 to 25. We went from an average of 26 people to 36 people for the South County towns, and then if you add the other surrounding, we went from 26 to 34. That's pretty good. These are photos on the left, took place at a multi-generational event at the Whately Town Hall. And on the right was a holiday party at the Polish Club. So people have said to me, we don't need this. Why do you keep pursuing it? You should be happy with what you have. Well, we are increasing numbers because we're making change that's beneficial to our members in the community. We need a suitable large senior center location, one space, one location, because it would allow us to provide additional services and resources for members. Because if Tom, Chris, and I are in one building, we'll each have walkie-talkies. If someone's on the top floor overseeing the programs that's going on, which are mostly the movement classes, and I'm in the basement helping folks because we're having a talk or presentation, that person can connect with me. And we can do it in one location where we're not wasting all the time that Tom talked about and demonstrated with his time annually. That was just his. That's not including mine or Chris's, because we then have to transport people from one location to another location and go back and forth. When we do our monthly food truck prep, we have a volunteer who comes to 22 Amherst Road. We load up his pickup truck with all the items from our food pantry that we have on site available 4 days a week, and we bring that over in addition to the items that come on the truck from the Franklin Area Survival Center. And then we have to pack it all up and come back again. And that's a whole day wiped out that no one can get additional services or supports for a day of the month. That we make sure that service is dealt with. The multiple smaller locations, again, limit what we're able to do. I mean, we're still able to do a lot, but it's not sustainable. We are growing. The saying that build it, they will come, well, they've been coming. We are over 700 members. It's not an imaginary number. One new modern senior center is essential to support the growing community. 37% by 2035 will be over 60. That is a lot of folks that we are going to need to support, in addition to what we have now. So now we're going to talk about location, location, location. We did a comparison of 4 different spaces. 22 Amherst Road in Sunderland, where we currently are. 112 Amherst Road in Sunderland, which is the space that we offered tours on. If you didn't get to go on that tour, there's a flyer at the entrance with 3 additional tour dates coming up in March, so you can go through. We're also working with FCAT to basically take a tour of the building virtually. So if you are at home and you can't leave your home, you should be able to watch it online if you have access, hopefully. They'll broadcast it not just online, but on their channels as well. Then we have 8 Conway Street in South Deerfield, which is the current existing town hall, because they're renovating the 1888 building, which is our former home at 67 North Main Street. And then our ideal location, when we did feasibility study with EDM Studio, it's been over a year and a half that we started that and presented the data last year for a brand new build within the 3 towns. So you'll see here I got my handy dandy little red dot. So we're going to talk about the cost. This includes the rent and renovations needed to move in. We're here. We don't need to renovate. We're still going to pay rent, $28,000 annually. That's for our location that we're currently residing in. For Amherst Road, the 112 that we're talking about as a potential new space, it would be $168,000 a year. 8 Conway Street from South Deerfield. When EDM Studio did an evaluation of this as a 1 floor instead of the brand new 2-story builds that was determined in the other year, we went through and their cost was around $6 million, but that included moving up the ballpark and then over exorbitant cost of the commercial kitchen. So we brought it down to $5 million, but that would still be $400,000 a year over 20 years at 5%, plus whatever rent would be charged by the town. None of the spaces will be for free. There is absolutely no free space for us to go into. SCEM space, if you're familiar, the South County Emergency Services building was donated by Deerfield Academy. They're charged rent. No one gets anything for free. The new build, that would be our ideal location, would be 15 to 20 million over 30 years, and the annual payment would be more than $1 million. That's just the cost of the build plus utilities after. So when we go to the cost consideration, we're currently here, we're currently there. The space is 2,000 square feet. That includes the 1,700 square feet on the main floor and the 300 storage we use in the basement. You'll notice 14%. What's that 14% for, you may be asking? Well, our ideal space is 100% at 17,600 square feet. Annual cost per square foot. We're currently paying $14 a square foot for rent right now. That would be the same amount for 12,000 square feet, which would meet our 68% of our ideal number, and 10,500 square feet, which is 60% of our need if the whole building is available to us at the 8 Conway Street. And as I mentioned before, our ideal space that was projected by EDM would be 17,600. So if you look at the cost consideration again, 112 Amherst is build-to-suit costs are included in the rent, and the private ownership means lower costs overall for renovations and for other things. Also maintenance, we wouldn't be responsible for maintaining the building. For 8 Conway Street, we don't know what the total cost would be for renovations, but the positive there is the renovation could be funded as a debt exclusion. And we're not even going around here with the cost because it's way too much for any town to bear at this time. The timing consideration, we would look at available soonest July 1, 2026, and the renovations would be estimated over a few months. It's a now or never opportunity because this space is not going to be available after the annual town meeting votes in this year. And why do I say July 1? Because there's a process. The process is whether or not the finance and select boards support this, then it would go to a town vote for warrant process. It's not just, ooh, I made a decision, the boards of oversight's going say yay, seniors are saying yay. There's a vote, there's a process that goes along with municipal government. The annual cost, I know a lot of people have been asking. These square footage numbers for going to South Deerfield, 8 Conway Street would be greater than $38 a square foot. And then we're not really pursuing this, but we wanted to have the numbers greater than 60. So everybody's been asking me the big question, what's my tax rate going to go up? We took the mean average, and we took this through a spreadsheet created with Julie Chalfant, who is the finance chair for Deerfield's Finance Committee. She based it on fiscal 2026 data from all 3 towns. We determined the mean average for the majority of homes in all 3 towns was $450,000. And obviously there are some that are higher and some that are lower, but this was the average. So to stay in our current space would be a $10 increase because nothing is going down or staying the same. To go into 112 Amherst Road would be $50 a year. For 8 Conway Street in South Deerfield, it would be greater than $150 a year. And we all know this new build is never going to happen, but it would be greater than $240 a year. Oops. Apparently, I hit wrong buttons. This is why I don't have a clicker. Thank you. 2 more. Okay. So when we take this and we color code it, this makes it a little easier for you to understand the process. Here's where we are, $10. That's if we make no changes and stay where we currently are in 7 different locations. That includes the hybrid option. If we go to 112 Amherst Road, $50 a year. You like to go out and have coffee and a donut or a sandwich and you spend, $10 a month, that'd be 5 of those. While I understand $50 is a lot of money for folks on a fixed income, we are working with our Mass in Motion project, spearheaded by Chris Goudreau, our outreach coordinator, to bring tax work-off volunteering to Deerfield and Whately. Whately's board has already voted on it. It's going to the annual town meeting for a vote. Deerfield, they're doing their presentation for Deerfield on the 26th of this month. And if that is approved, or they like what they hear, there is a citizen petition that will be going to annual town meeting for Deerfield. Sunderland already has a senior tax work-off program, and that both of those also affect veterans, so it's not just limited to older adults, but they're looking to get that number increased because it's currently $500 a year for Sunderland. Any questions on this slide? So the pros and cons of each location in addition to what we talked about financially and capacity-wise. So outdoor green space, there is none where we are. It's a little bit. You can't really have people sitting outside because, let's face it, we're not all good drivers. But the condition of the building is excellent. They maintain and they come over and repair anything that's done. Plowing is an additional cost for us, but they do the landscaping in the summer. We're 1 level, we have a ramp. Parking. Everyone here will tell you that goes to center. It's insufficient at 17 spaces. You cannot use it as an emergency shelter. Privacy for staff and town nurses. No, there are no office doors that I can close. So what happens is if Chris or Tom or I need to meet individually one-on-one to talk to a senior with concern, we have to close the center down. We have to do it on an off day. So that's why Thursdays are by appointment only, because that's the day of the week that we set aside to make sure that there is private, confidential time to meet with our seniors. So we go to 112 Amherst Road. So yes, there's outdoor green space. We're going to be able to garden to grow food for meals and to also provide to older adults. Do you know how many gardeners we have in our community? I have one over here, and she loves doing all that kind of stuff. We have an existing space in excellent condition. Obviously, we need to have built-to-suit modifications done to move in. Building maintenance, plowing, landscaping are included in the rental cost. There's no additional to the cost to the towns with that. Accessibility. There are 3 levels. It has an elevator and stairs. There's multiple level entrances, and the elevator that is in there meets the exception to the code. The interior car needs to be a certain size. This meets it. Actually goes over for one of them. There's currently 45 spaces. A little tight, but in talking with the owner of the space, It could potentially be repaved and adding an additional 6 to 7, depending on how it is striped. We would be able to use this as an emergency shelter because one of the bathrooms off the wellness room for the town nurses would include a shower. So while Frontier is very spacious and ample, there's going to come a point in time, if there is a natural disaster, that Frontier may not be the largest space for us to be at. While one shower may not be adequate, you can do rotations and everything else for that use. And privacy, yes, there are lots of offices and lots of doors. But there will be maps and painted differently so you would know where you're going and not get lost. 8 Conway Street. There's really no outdoor green space. The closest that we could utilize could be the Memorial Ballpark. You also have to be careful because the police department would not be moving. They would stay where they are. And as we all know, around the back, the police department doesn't have ample enough parking for themselves at this point in time either. Major renovations would be needed. The operations cost would fund the maintenance. So why, some people may consider, well, that's going to increase a lot of expenditures. Maybe it's going to need a new roof at some point. That's not going to be in the renovations up front. How can the 3 towns fund that? It is one level, but it has a ramp for the main space because it goes down. I believe in that $5 million quote, they were talking about leveling that up, but I'm not sure if that was in the final design. And it's insufficient for parking. There's minimal parking in the front. It was an issue even when EDM Studio did their feasibility study to have it as a 2-story building. They had suggested bumping up Memorial Field, which I know a lot of folks would not be happy with because a lot of time was invested as well as money to get that ballpark field to be created originally. And there's no shower in there, so unless the modifications including a shower, then it could be used. But, at this point in time, if it was just restrooms, no. And yes, there is privacy. There are multiple town offices, but the construction would have to be configured to make sure that we have enough room for all of the program activity. The new build, we were looking at 110 spaces would be the ideal parking. It would have green space because we would be able to grow food and have outdoor activities. The new build right now is cost prohibitive, so we're not even looking at that. But 17,600 square feet would be perfect. 110 spaces for parking, emergency shelter use, and then yes, there are multiple offices. So that breaks it down for pros and cons of each of the spaces. That is our presentation for the evening. And now it is time, if you have any questions, I just want to share, some people had been at walkthroughs and other events and had other questions. We created a handout for you to take home. It was available at the front, frequently asked questions, so it may have answers to your questions as it is now, but we're happy to take questions from the audience. If you have a question, raise your hand. You got that one?
Yep.
Great.
Hi, the question I have is this. You've got presentation there based upon where you are now, where you plan on going, and then 2 other options. The other 2 options aren't really feasible. Why aren't you considering the old Congregational Church, which you can move into now, probably for free because they've had the building at the 1888 building was given to the senior center for over 30 years for free. And I don't know what the selectmen think if they should charge for the Congregational Church, but the Congregational Church was renovated. The library was in there for a couple of years, and now they moved out and that space is available. How come you're not comparing that one?
Yeah. Hi, John. Thanks for asking that because that is one other space we did consider. The space, when you look at it, that main room where the church services were, that space is not going to be available. That's structurally, there's a lot of problems there, so we assume that would not be available. If we look at that, it's no bigger in square footage than the space we're in right now. That was, it's about the same. It's, so I disagree with you on that. Because if you said 2 to 3 times bigger, that means you're counting the area where the church services were held. And we could not use that space because of structural problems in that room. So I'm telling you what we thought. I understand you disagree with me, but I'm telling you what we looked at. We went and looked at the drawings. We looked at how much square footage there is in that the room that the library is using and the adjacent rooms. And we went from those drawings and used those measurements. We overestimated a little bit because the rooms are not rectangles, so we kind of estimated that way. It's not really any better. There's one big room. You can have one event at a time, and it has to fit in that room. So that's not an improvement in the amount of space that we would have to grow into. It's not a growth option. It's going to be too small. And there's a big question mark over that, the portion of the church that's not structurally stable. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. At least I'm telling you how we are thinking about it. I understand that we disagree.
I'll be glad to go and check the measurement, because I think you're wrong, and I respectfully disagree with you.
Okay. And I respectfully
There's
disagree.
another major issue. That's $168,000. What do we get for that? $168,000 a year rent, of which Deerfield's going to pay over 50%. I have heartburn with that, big heartburn. I don't want to mortgage my kid's future or my grandkid's future. And that's what we're doing. We're going into a space that's a temporary space that you say you can buy, but guess what? The town of Deerfield can't go into Sunderland to buy a building. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You brought up the idea about buying the building. What leasing the building for some period of time, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it turns out to be, it buys us time to create a different kind of structure. Right now, we are a senior center via an intermunicipal agreement. You may know this from reading the papers. Our neighbors in Ashfield, Shelburne, and Buckland, they first formed a consortium. A consortium can own property, and it's still very much tied to approval of budgets from the towns. Another possible structure is a district, much like the South Deerfield Fire District, or water districts sometimes work this way. We can have the time to think through what kind of a structure might work for us and have an entity that is not one of the 3 towns having to purchase a building. Because honestly, when we were looking at a town having to buy a building, that's a huge burden on whatever town has to buy a building. And that's a huge responsibility. And it's unfair. It's just not fair. So we would have time to look at a way for the South County Senior Center to become the kind of entity that can own property. The time also gives us the 10-year lease, 20-year lease, whatever it ends up being, that gives us time to try the building out, see if that really works for us. You know, it could be that at the end of 10 years, we're saying, this is way too small. Then we have the option to not continue. So it gives us some time to grow. We can have our foot in the door. We can find out, and right now we're really bursting at the seams. We can find out really how much we can do when we have something that is much, much closer to the amount of space that every person who has done a study thinks we need. Everybody who has done a study thinks we need something upwards of 16,000 square feet. And the Congregational Church is really no bigger than what we've got now. Okay, and I'm sorry we disagree on that, but respectfully, I do disagree.
I think even if it's a little bigger, right, it's just not conducive to having a senior center that we're going to be in for a long time. The structure itself, the sanctuary needs work, the roof needs some work, steeple needs some work. There's money to be spent there. Again, no town is going to be, building is going to be free for any town. We have to pay our way. You know, I envision, just me personally, I envision that space as a great community space. The kitchen has been remodeled a bit. Tim worked hard on that, put a lot of labor into doing that. We spent a little bit of money to work that area, so we had a space for the library to go into. But I remember when I first started getting involved in town politics, we did community meals there. And that was a really nice space. There's got a little stage. You could, you know, there's a lot of things that we can use that church for. It just isn't going to serve long-term for a senior center. It's just not big enough. The parking's not big enough, especially when they have the new town hall going in. Who else knows what's going to happen on the property? Long-term, it's not. It is a great space for our seniors to gather and listen to music or have a book reading, or there's a lot of different things we can do there. We can use the kitchen, we can do all of that, but we can't run the kind of programs that we need to run, the things that Tom is doing, things that Chris is doing and Jen's doing every day. There's just not enough space. Sure, you could do what we're doing now, and we're, you know, busting at the seams or going to different places, but our seniors deserve a space. Look, I go budgets. You've done budgets. I do budgets all the time. We spend $10 million a year on education for our kids. $10 million. We're asking for Deerfield a couple $100,000 a year at this point. That includes pay, building maintenance, all the things of our budget. The budgets, I think, maybe if we looked at our budgets, might be 400 and something thousand a year. If we did this, about 445. So Deerfield's is a couple $100,000. I mean, a couple $100,000. Our seniors are worth this. Yes, it's going to be difficult to find a way to do that into a budget because you can't just go do a debt exclusion for this, like we did with a sewer system or any other project we've done. We've got to find a way to get it into our budget. We wind up with $1 million or more in free cash each year. There's a way to make it possible to make a space for our seniors. You all deserve it. I've been on this board for 10 years, struggling, looking for a place. What are we going to do? Meeting after meeting. How many forums are we going to do with this? You guys, the seniors of our town, deserve a space to gather, to not be lonely. Loneliness is one of the most detrimental things you can have of your health. These people build a community together. It's important for them to come together and find services and just find friendship. And we can't, we can do it in the church a couple times here and there, but it's not a place to do exercise programs and all the other things that they put together. And sure, we'd love 16,000 square feet. We're not going to have it. We would love that. But this building, through the generosity and thoughtfulness of the landlord, thought he would put up a place that if we could all afford it, it would be a win-win for both. Sure, he could go get money and do another private business there and keep rolling on like he has for 30, 40 years that building's been there. But it's important. He feels it's important. We feel it's important to do something for our seniors. He's watched the papers. We've struggled year after year after year trying to find something. So it's not perfect. Yes, it's expensive, but I think when we look at the cost of what we do every year, year in and out, for our kids, for all the other things we do, for police, for fire, for EMS, our seniors pay that, and they've been paying it year after year after year. And it's time we give them a space they can use and feel comfortable and safe at. Again, it won't be perfect, but it'll be a way better than it is now.
Also, I just want to give a plug. There's a new nonprofit. I don't know if you grabbed a flyer that's helping us do fundraising. They're an official nonprofit 501c3 with the IRS and Massachusetts Attorney General's office, Building South County Communities, and they are doing fundraising to help offset the costs for going into a new center as well as programs.
I have a question.
This woman had her hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's okay. I'll get to
Sorry, I got a couple questions. One is, have they told us whether this is a fixed lease for 10 years, 20 years? And do you know, you keep saying 10 or 20, that's kind of a big difference. Second question is, you guys are all on finance or select board. What's the temperature of your boards? And third, we're on a tight schedule here. Can you build it into your budget?
I might forget the questions because it was too long. But our budget is about to be approved and submitted, and we've given the finance committees a heads up about how much it's going to be. We went and talked to Deerfield just earlier this week. Can you remind me your question? Yeah, we're still negotiating the lease, so. This is the best of my understanding, so if I say something that turns out to not be true later, you're not going to crucify me, right? Okay. My understanding is that the rent is based on a $10,000 a month base rent, and then $4,600.
It's around $3,200 a month if we do it for 20 years for the built-to-suit costs included in that. And then if we go up, it's around $5,300 if it's a 10-year lease versus a 20, because it's amortized over the course of the lease.
Right.
And there will be an escalation.
The escalator, I think, is on the $10,000 base
Yes.
rent would have the escalator, I believe, because the other cost, the folding and the renovation cost, is based on, well, what would a 10-year loan or a 20-year loan cost in terms of a monthly payment. And honestly, all of that stuff can happen so much faster with a private individual. With the town, if it's over $30,000, you have to go out. It's just like there's a million different pieces of paperwork that have to get done, and waiting periods and hearings, and it just amazes me that we ever get anything done. This can happen relatively quickly. If they start on July 1st with renovations, we could be in there sometime in the fall. And to me, that's amazing how different that can be. And that's one of the perks of having it being owned by a private individual. Did you, yeah. I think their temperature is going to depend on how many seniors show up. How many of you you're willing to come out here tonight? Are you willing to go to your town's finance committee? Are you willing to go to another town's finance committee meeting and just be there? Because I'm at so many meetings where we're the only ones there. There's hardly any. Now it's being videotaped, and we know some people will watch it later, and some of them will even email later and make comments. There is nothing like people in the room watching you while you're trying to discuss and make a decision. There is nothing like it at all. And that is going to make the biggest difference if seniors are willing to show up. In person is better, but we all have that big Zoom screen, and when that Zoom screen is full of, 10, 20, 30 boxes with the names of people we know from our town in it, then people know that you're watching in real time. Every public meeting has public comment time. And you don't have to be a resident of that town to have public comment time. They normally limit it to, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. So you can say your piece at every meeting. That public comment time is for items that are not on the agenda. So go to a meeting where South County Senior Center is not on the agenda and tell them what you want about South County Senior Center. And that will make a difference. I think that will affect the temperature a lot. And nothing guarantees, right? Because, budgets are complicated and money is tight, but that's one of the things that will affect the temperature.
Hi, Jane Risley here.
Hi, Jane.
How are you doing, Joyce? I have questions. First of all, is any of this going to stop if we don't get a new senior center? Question one. Second one is, what are the expenses for electricity, sewer, water, all of the other things that are involved in a building? You've given me a price of $168,000.
It's all in there. Yeah, oh, so,
And
yeah.
that scares me, because I'll tell you, over 10 years, that's a lot of money.
Sure.
$1,680,000,
Yeah.
and I'm a
Yes.
little concerned about that we could build something. I'm 77 years old, my husband's 80. We're not going to be here in another 10 years. And my children and my grandchildren are going to live in this town because we own property here, and we've always owned property here.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to afford to live here. And I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that, and that's how I feel. So I really don't support all of this. I love what you're doing at the senior center. I've been, I've gone. But do I need to have somebody spend $168,000 for me to go and do something that I can still do now for less than that? That's my question. Will
okay.
it change? Will it stop?
So-
Probably
so,
won't
yeah.
grow, but will it stop?
So-
And I think the answer
okay.
to that is possibly no. And I think we
yeah.
need to rethink this, and I think we need to look at other options instead of just dumping into this for July 1st.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for your, I want to address a couple of the things that you said, and then I'm going to hand it over to Travis. Trevor, I'm sorry. I work with someone named Travis, 8 hours a day, and then I come for 2 hours and work with Trevor. So sorry about that. If we don't approve and move into the 112 Amherst Road, of course we're going to continue to try and find a new home, because we need a new home. We're not going to close down the senior center and give up if we don't make it into the 112 Amherst Road. You said $168,000 is a really big, scary number, but compared to what? Compared to, well, it would cost an average median household $50 a year more on their taxes. And it's going to cost them $10 a year more anyway to just stay in place, for us to do the services that we have now in the present condition. So an extra $40 a month compared to, you said we could buy a place. Well, we've looked into that, and that's going to be substantially more. That's going to be a 30-year, $15 or $20 million loan, which is going to be $1 million a year paid by the towns. And that's only counting the money that it would cost to buy the thing. It doesn't count the money to maintain it. And you know how good we are at maintaining our public buildings. Okay? You know that. So 168,000 may seem really big because it's bigger than 28,000. I grant you that. It's bigger than 128,000. Excuse me, it's bigger than 28,000. But it's nowhere near the over $1 million or the over $400,000 we would need to use for the next space that would meet 60% of our needs. So when you say 168,000, it is a big number, but big compared to what? That's what I tell my students. I teach physics for a living. I teach physics for a living, and when people say, that number is big, I always ask them, compared to what? No, the Earth is really, really big. Well, compared to what? The sun? No, it's not big compared to the sun. So it depends, a lot depends on what you're comparing it to. So if we compare to the other thing you suggested is, oh, well, we could build some new thing, we've made that comparison. That comparison is, we need $20 million. And that comparison means, even if we finance it over 30 years, it's more than $1 million that we'd be asking people to pay. And that's going to take 5 years, 10 years. I don't know how long that's going to take. It's a very uncertain timeline because we don't really have a nice, flat, open field someplace where we can just build, right? We have really investigated every possible piece of land, and there isn't one. Okay, you want to add anything to that?
Nope. Great
Okay.
job.
Oh, the electric bill, Jen has estimates from the previous folks renting at 112 Amherst Road. It's included in our budget. It's not included in the rent, but it is included in our budget, and it's more than what we pay at 22 Amherst Road, but it's proportionally a much larger space. It's not a 4 times bigger electric bill, but it is a 4 times bigger space.
Can I answer her question?
Sure.
It's around $40,000 to $45,000 on the higher end annually, and that is included in the $444,000 budget.
kind of disagree with that. I'll give you an example. The Irving Senior Center, which has an electric heat and is only 5,000 square feet, this building's twice as big. Their bill last month, like 2 weeks ago, was $3,600. That means you're looking at a $7,000 bill just for electricity. So I think you're using real low numbers.
Well,
And I can give you more examples if you want.
well, so John, I respect what you're saying, but with all due respect, this building is not the same as the Orange Senior Center.
Irving.
And we have historical data on usage for electricity in that building when the entire building was being used and occupied for businesses. That's your heating, that's all lighting, all of those things. We don't expect that we'll be the exact same as last year's electric bills or the year before. We built in a little more because we know electricity rates are going up. But to say that we should be using the Irving Senior Center's electric bill as our basis, I think is not really a good idea. I think that's not the best basis. Using the data on the building that we know and giving it an escalator because, of course, electricity is going up, that's a much more reasonable way to make the estimate for electricity.
We estimated it at $3,700 a month in this operations budget, and I can bump it up to $4,000 before we have our meeting on Tuesday.
No, thanks. No, keep it right where you got it.
Sharon?
I think there were some people in the back as well. So.
I'm Sharon Pachurik. I'm president of South County Triad, going on 25 years of helping seniors. Each and every day, I get many calls, crying seniors that need help. They don't have money for food. We are at the Whately Diner getting phone calls from them, the truckers down there, where their trucks have been kicked back from CNS because damaged boxes. We go down there, we unload those boxes. We get that food out there to these people, including our senior center. Each and every day, I get these phone calls, and I got one before I came here tonight. I want to know, these seniors are looking for food. How is this going to impact them as far as paying taxes, buying fuel oil, working with Jen, trying to get some of that, and Chris, Tom, for assistance for these people? There's a lot more to this than meets the eye, and I have seen it for 25 years. My mother lived across from the Deerfield Town Hall. I asked her one day if she wanted to go to the senior center. She said, no, that's for old people. Well, I had to smile, but I did go to the senior center. One day I went into the center, and they were having a triad meeting in there. Somehow, I got voted as president 25 years ago. That goes back to some awesome people that took care of that building. I remember Shirley Pelock from Whately, Betty Turner from Deerfield, and a few other ladies. They would go there with family members on the weekend, wash the windows, and those ladies would make the drapes for those windows. I watched the card playing, I watched the exercising programs in that 88 building, and I watched Jimmy Ruddock bring his canine dog in there for those seniors. Absolutely love that stuff. I want to see this stuff come back, but I'm scared right now. Look around to your towns, Deerfield, Whately, Sunderland, Conway, that I cover and have for 25 years. I had the Whately chief come to me not long ago because I have a Triad freezer in our garage, and when I get the extra food, I keep it in there. I call Deerfield Police my night stalkers because they will go in. John will say, somebody's in our garage. They're looking for food for seniors. How are they going to pay a tax increase? How can they afford this building? Yes, it's a beautiful building. I certainly agree to that. And I'd like someday maybe something good can happen for our seniors. But right now, from what I'm seeing, and I've got Frontier kids down at the Whately Diner unloading trailer trucks to feed our seniors. How can we afford this?
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you said and for your service over the years to the seniors through the Triad. And I commend all of the work you're doing. It struck me as you were speaking that what you're talking about is exactly what South County Senior Center is trying to do. They're trying to get needed services, including substantial amounts of food, to seniors in need in our community. Okay, and I applaud your partnership. I applaud your keeping a freezer in your garage for this. I applaud all of that. And still, I don't know any particular senior's tax bill, but the taxes are the taxes, and the state law determines how we have to distribute those taxes. And we don't have control over that. Whatever we do to improve the services to our seniors will cost some money. I think for a senior who is in need of food, that it's going to be a net positive to have a better senior center where we can have a better food storage system, where we can have better access to it, maybe more than once a month. There's so many benefits to having a better senior center to deliver better services that I think it's worth it. Do I get to decide? No. Town meeting gets to decide. But here, I think people are going to have to think hard about that. As that, you know, an increase in your taxes of $50, that's a lot when you're on a fixed income. But not everyone is going to be on a fixed income. And those that are on the fixed income are going to be the main beneficiaries of the better, improved services that we can give at a senior center. And I don't know if you had other questions in there as well. But that's my response is yes, everything you do will cost money. But the benefits of this are going primarily to the seniors, primarily to the people you're trying to serve as well. And that $50 a year is coming from everybody in the community. Okay?
Bruce St. Peters, I have a couple questions. First off, I want to thank Jennifer for a very, very good presentation and opened my eyes a little bit on some facts as well. So thank you, Jennifer. One of the things, a couple things. First off, it's advertised as being 12,000 square feet. I'd like to know where to go because the assessor's card on that building down there says 10.5. So where does the 12,000 square feet come in? Which of course would adjust the cost per square foot. The other question is, it really did open my eyes when you did a cost comparison per square foot. If it does change, it's not going to change that much, but to see the 14 against the 14 is kind of an eye-opener. That's quite pleasant. As far as you said, taxes are taxes. We all got it. We live in the condos over there in Deerfield, the foot of Sugarloaf, and every one of our taxes, we're all over 55, went up approximately 38% this year. Yeah. So, which is extraordinary for a group, but that's what happened here. The rest of the town did not. Right. The other thing I was a little concerned about, seems to be kind of an open-ended thing, is you keep talking about a lease, whether it's going to be 10-year, 20-year. You're talking about a cost of the monthly rent at this point in time. Is that guaranteed for the length of the lease, or is there an escalator built in, and how much is that escalator going to be in? And if you don't have those answers right now, are they going to be available for people when it comes to town meeting time? Because I think it's a very crucial answers that need to be made so that people can say, okay, well, if it's a 5% increase, that's one thing. But if it's going to be an annual escalator of 10 or 15%, A lot of people are just going to vote no unless you have those answers before town meeting.
Yeah.
But-
Oh, absolutely,
So-
absolutely. You're right that today we don't have all the answers. There are town hall meetings scheduled for February. I think there are 3 of them in February, and there are some in March as well now. Some
Yes.
dates in March. I know there's at least one date that Jen has put on my calendar for an evening here in March. So yes, we don't have every single answer right now, but I can give you some. The best of my understanding is the place we are renting now, which is from the same landowner, the rent has a 2.5% escalator. Thank you, Tom Feidenkevitz, who negotiated that for us when we started renting that place. The idea being we can really only go up by 2.5% in a year. So that base rent, the $10,000 a month, would go up by 2.5% per year, although I don't have a negotiated lease in front of you to show you with a signed signature. That is the best of my understanding. And I've been taking your questions kind of in reverse order, and now I don't remember the one that was before.
Do we have a lease figured out yet?
Oh,
for
we're like right now we're gathering information from you all about like what things we need, and we've done a lot. I think we're getting close to the point where we can, if it looks realistic, like the towns will actually entertain this, then we get the details of a lease, so we have all of that stuff well before town meetings, because I don't think you can vote on this unless you know. We have a subcommittee to negotiate the lease. It's composed of a person from Whately, from Deerfield, and from Sunderland. The Deerfield representative is Trevor McDaniel. The Whately representative is Jerry Lemon, who is on the Finance Committee and has been in commercial real estate for many, many years. And Lauren Lauren Starr from Sunderland, who has a lot of experience in municipal building and building design.
She's also on their finance committee.
And she's also on the Finance Committee. So I think we have a lot of talent out there who are willing to kind of sit down and really look over that lease with a fine-tooth comb and make sure we are getting the best deal we can possibly get. We are not trying to put this person out of business, but I have to say they have been extremely generous in terms of giving us time to go through the municipal process that we need to go through. I mean, our timeline is it's been a year we're talking about this. By the time we get to town meeting, it will have been an entire year. And in the business world, that's like a century, right? In municipal world, it's really fast, right? Because we need to do town meetings, we need to have hearings, and so he's been really, really patient with us, given that he's really not from the municipal world. But that building, did you get a chance to see it, sir? Yes, I did. Yeah. That building is really, we're not going to find another building like that's going to only cost us $14 a square foot. And granted, it doesn't take care of 100% of what the experts think we will need to serve our seniors. But I think it's going to be substantially better than what we have now. I mean, the one comparison Jen didn't put up there that she and I went through the data and looked at was how many bathrooms. I mean, really, that's the thing that everybody wants to know. We have one bathroom in our location right now, one bathroom. And we'll have 7.
There's 7 in that potential new space.
7 in the new space. 7 bathrooms. And they're all
welcome to you.
They're all welcome to.
We have a question
Yeah.
over here, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you. I was one of the Zoom boxes at the hybrid meeting a couple of nights ago.
Oh, no, thank you for coming.
But the audio was not
great.
let's say, not sufficient.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just wondering, visually it didn't look like the board was agreeing with your analysis of Conway Street. I'm just wondering, were they substantially in agreement with your analysis, or were they differing significantly?
I think they were kind of holding their cards a little close to it. They were kind of waiting to see. I don't think they were, they didn't necessarily go one way or the other. Because I think they know the condition of the building. The condition of the building at 8 Conway Street I'm sorry, residents of Deerfield, is not as good as the building at 112 Amherst Road. And that's, you know, if it was a building in Whately, it'd be the same thing. Municipalities are not that good at taking care of their own buildings, because we all want to use duct tape and spit until it really breaks, and then we get a new, right? I mean, because municipalities are always pressed for.
I guess I'm asking, were they in agreement with the parking, the cost for renovation, those items that you had?
Oh, we didn't talk to them about parking. We kept it on the finances.
Yeah. The parking was meant for this, so we could do a comparison for spacing. Because with the library, the renovation of the 1888 building, that's taking up parking that exists. Police department would still be there. They're also tight for parking at this point in time. And depending on how the renovations went and where it would be how the parking would be configured. Because when EDM Studio did the feasibility study on that space, they also included parking, but it would be kind of over the Memorial Ball Field. And we knew, you know, that probably wouldn't fly because that ball field's been a lot of work to get to and would have a lot of issues with that as well, so.
When we talked to the Finance Committee, we didn't go into the same depth of the pro-cons as we're doing for you here tonight. Because, you know, it's tempting to look at each box and weigh them equally, when really the thing that matters to the Finance Committee is going to be the cost. And the amount of services we can provide is going to be proportional to the space we have, okay? And would it be great to have the 16,000 square foot? I'd love it. It'd be great. But we know we're not going to get that. But we've got something that is substantially better than what we have now, roughly 4 times the size. And we would not have to increase the staff. That's one thing I don't think Jen emphasized enough, that we can operate in that building with the existing staff. We're just using them so much more efficiently that it will help us do the growth we know we need. So, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me speak again. I guess maybe have a final comment from my end. You know, when I come to these meetings, I am so moved by what everyone says on both sides of the issues, and I can understand that. And if I can sort of underscore what I said with my experience. So when I came to this area, I bought my first house in Sunderland. I only live in my second house now. We moved to South Deerfield. I was 40 years old, by myself. I had not met my husband. I was working 3 jobs. I discovered that you can use hefty trash bags for curtains if you don't have enough money for that yet, because you just got into your house. I had a used car that I was praying, that already had over 100,000 miles, that it was just going to last. And I had $200 left for the month. So I really understand all of what was being said. And I felt kind of proud when I finally got to, you know, nobody gets proud about a property tax bill, but I was, because I'd been renting for a while. And then I realized when things were explained. At that time they were doing, I can't remember, I think it was something for the Sunderland schools or whatever. And I'm an educator, so it's like, I'm supporting students having a good education who are going to be great engaged citizens here or elsewhere. So I do understand that. I guess my thing here is, as someone, we have a combined 8 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. So I also understand that. Like we need to leave them something viable, right? But I have a hard time, like just as I would not say, well, let's get the cheapest high school we can for students, right? I wouldn't do that for the seniors either. In my mind, everybody is somewhat the same, because they all need to be viable and they all need to be supported. And in the adult community, young adults, middle-aged communities, middle-aged people, senior people, older people, and seniors are all paying taxes. We're all still paying taxes because we're viable members here. And the last thing is, just on the senior end and people using what the senior center has to offer, I have seen so many people flourish, not just exist, not just make friends, but physically flourish. in the exercise classes. And I mean both in terms of physical conditioning and in mental acuity. In fact, we have a few people in the exercise classes who have maybe early onset dementia or whatever. They're flourishing. They're flourishing. It's an incredibly supportive community. The people who spoke tonight, I know practically all of them. These are people who are flourishing. And we have also different ages. I'm sort of like a first grade elementary school kind of senior, right? Because I'm on the younger end, I like to think. But these people are so engaged. And what we don't really talk about too is how much volunteering they're doing. They're also driving from thing to thing because we have different things in different buildings. They could even do more, but sometimes in spite of the miraculous scheduling that Jen does, I can't get to something, like I want to do the exercise thing, but I won't get to the next thing in time. So, because we have to go to a different building, it's not in the same place. And finally, in my line of work, I do a lot of benefit concerts. I have done a number of benefit concerts for the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. That's part of my calling in what I do. I would like to be able to do some more concerts and things for the senior center. I brought the Springfield Symphony Chorus here a couple of summers ago. We were at the Congregational Church. I could do all sorts of stuff in this new place, and it didn't cost anything. We didn't need a grant for me to bring the symphony chorus. So I don't mean to babble on, but this is just as important to me as if I'm supporting youth in having a good school. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that you realize we are not going for the Cadillac of senior centers. We are going for the Prius. The Prius of senior centers.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Number one, I really believe that the seniors need a home. And I also believe that they need a permanent home. And lease and that, and I really appreciate all the work that these people here have put into this and researched it. But I also I guess I'm feeling that a lot of it is coming down to the financial component. And there are other alternatives out there, and I brought this up before. I've mentioned it a couple times. I'll mention it again. And obviously you're pressed for time, so it's probably not an option at this point, maybe down the road. But I hate taking property off the tax rolls. But you have right down the road here on 5 and 10, a Volvo building, the old Volvo building, that's for sale. And I believe you could probably, through negotiations, pick that up for 1.4, 1.5 mil. And then do what you need to do for renovations. The building's in pretty good shape. It's all on one level. And it's got quite a bit of parking there, so shouldn't be an issue for the parking. And you're 4 minutes down the road from the Skims building, the fire station, and not much further from the police station.
Thank you.
And I realize there's issues that come into play with 3 towns and 1 town ownership and so on and so forth, but I believe that's something that you could work through. And when you factor in the costs over the years of how much you would cost annually, I think you'd find out that financially it would come out a lot cheaper for all 3 towns. And it would give you a building, I think, that would meet the needs of all the seniors with all their programs, and it'd give them, in the long run, a permanent home without costing the 3 towns a whole bunch of money. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Volvo lot, because that's something that came up at an earlier meeting, and then we looked into it. But Trevor did more of the work on that, so I'm going to hand it to him.
I don't really recall doing a ton of work on that. But
I think you got to the point where we knew we couldn't go further. Like, what were the problems?
I don't remember. I really honestly don't. I just think.
I remember water problems.
Well, it's definitely low. I mean, my dad worked there for 40-something years, but So there would be, you know, yes, it's one floor, there is some parking, but it is, I just think, you know, you're talking $1 million something just to get it. And then, you know, I don't know how many, maybe $1 million to put back in, or 500, 700,000, but you're, you know, and I'm looking at 168. I mean, you were in there 10 years with a lease to own even at 122. I just think the costs are going to be a lot more getting into that building, because this is already done. I mean, you just walk in the door.
Right, and I appreciate that, Trevor. I guess my question is, are we looking at the building in Sunderland to be a permanent home?
Yeah.
Where eventually it will be purchased, one way or another, between the three towns? Or are we looking at it as a placeholder for 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, and then trying to build?
Yeah. In my mind, I think, you know, nothing ever gets cheaper as the years go on. As you know, we've just, every year it's just more money. I'm looking at it as a long-term place because, you know, it's a great, well-made building, and it's well-maintained and all of that reasoning, and the space is good enough. There is another large lot with that property right next to it that is, you know, if we purchased it. So I think, you know, I'm more on the 15 to 20 year lease. I think it's worth, I mean, 10 years we've been thinking about this. Where do we go? What do we do? We're landlocked everywhere we go. It's wet everywhere we try. It's, you know, there's just never a great spot. And this is like the one spot that feels like you could get in, you know, and plan to be there for a long enough time that, you know, I won't be dealing with this again. I'll be going there, but I won't be dealing with it. I do think it's long term. It's just the best value. It is expensive. There's no doubt about it. But I just, compared to everything, as you said, compared to anything else, it's got everything we need for now. Certainly, it needs, you know, a little bit of work, moving some walls here and there, but not major. And eventually, if we had to put an elevator on at some point, we can do that outside. It has one that meets code at the moment for what we're due. I just think long term, it's the best value that we have at the moment. I'm racking my brain for anything else.
Yeah, but if something happened and say the lease period is the longest one we talked about was 20 years. Say that's the lease period. At the end of 20 years, if there is a better option, then we don't own the place. We can easily get out of, finish a lease and move on. But if it looks like that place is really working out, then we're in a position to purchase. And by then, we will hopefully have an entity that can purchase it in such a way that it doesn't burden one of the towns unnecessarily.
I think in 5 years, if we were in there for 5 years, you're going to know for sure this is going to want to be a forever home, and we can restructure that lease at that point to start, lease to own. I mean, I have no doubt, just talking with the owner, that he just wants to find a way to make it work for the seniors and for the community. So I'm sure that he would renegotiate anything for us to make, if he can, if it's going to be a forever place for us, I know he would, we would know in a couple of years, we're into it. Yeah, this is good. We can restructure at that point, long term.
That's a good point. I think that point should be stressed when you're bringing it to town meetings.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have more of a statement than a question.
Okay.
I've lived in South Deerfield and Whately for over 35 years, and I've been a member of the Senior Center for a long time, and I've enjoyed many activities, and I agree with Nikki about the enhanced fitness program. The nurses there, she takes my blood pressure. It goes down 30 points after exercising.
That's great.
And my endorphins increase, and I have the best days on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So when I first saw the building at 112 Amherst Road, I could immediately see South County Senior Center across that diagonal entrance. I just said the universe has given us a gift. It provides everything we need. That was before I walked through it or before anything. I am a gardener. I love the yard. I wouldn't change a thing unless they give me a space. I've landscaped a lot of properties around town and up and down 5 and 10. Wherever I go, I landscape. That place has everything we need for all of our programs. It has room to expand. It has room for offices for all of our staff that are outstanding. There'd be a place for a nurse with a bed and a shower and a blood pressure machine. Everything we need. I feel like we're looking a gift horse in the mouth, and it's not a really good thing to do, because that horse is going to get out of the gate and take off, and forevermore we'll be saying, what about that place on Amherst Road? It looked like such a good opportunity. And I don't want to be looking at the rear end of the horse. I want it to be something that we put energy into, and that we nurture, and that we feed, and that we run with.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at the next Finance Committee meeting in Deerfield and Whately and Sunderland, and even if you're there on Zoom, it's the effort, and that's, nobody's gonna just give it to you. You have to ask for it.
Just a quick question. I'm Beth Lucan. I'm from Whately. The most surprising thing of the presentation tonight to me was the increase in cost, from like an increase in cost in $10 for where we are now to an increase to $50, which, you know, $40 increase per year. I spend that on breakfast if I go out to the Haydenville Snack Shack. I mean, it just appalls me to think that some people might think that our seniors aren't worth it. And I too don't have children, and I've paid into the school systems for years, willingly, lovingly, and it just saddens me to think that some people think that, you know, oh, they're just going to die soon, you know, so the hell with them. But my question is, I see this, actually this made me happy, this Building South County Communities thing that you say is going to help raise money?
Yes, the new nonprofit.
So I'm hoping, I don't know if there's grants out there. I'm sure you guys are all over the grants, whether there's some help we can get for that. And also I saw in the paper this week that some people left a great deal of money to Cooley Dickinson. Good for them. But maybe there's somebody out there that has, you know, money that they would love to throw at the seniors, and I'm hoping that they're going to investigate that. Thank you.
I'm really excited about this this nonprofit, because as good as Jen is at getting grants, there are some grants you can't apply for when you're a municipal entity like we are, and they're available to nonprofits. So having the nonprofit to be able to apply for those grants is going to even expand more the kind of number of grants that we get. You have more to say about grants?
Yes. So since I started, it's been 4 years now. The state gives us a formula fund grant annually. That's up to $16 an hour, or $16 an older adult annually. My apologies. It's been a long week. So that's how much we get from the state, and it's around $48,452 a year. That goes towards both of our combined 3 towns. So Chris and Tom's salary, a good portion of their salary gets paid by that. Over the last few years, I've been able to negotiate with the Finance Committee and Select Boards to put an increased amount of money from our operations budget into funding the other parts of their salary. We also pay for some smaller things, because the majority of it is for salary more than other activities. But I've brought in over $475,000 in competitive grants in 4 years. And we've gotten an additional couple $100,000 in grants that aren't competitive. But I don't know if all of you are aware of this. I live in South Deerfield myself. I pay taxes here. I've been a resident, I've owned property here since 2014. I know that's not as long as a lot of folks, but I'm only going to be 50 this year. And when I took this job and went forward for it, I asked myself, what do I want in a senior center when I am starting to go? I'm not that far away. My dad goes to the senior center begrudgingly because he needs the resources. And, you know, I appreciate working with South County Triad and Triad out of Greenfield and the Franklin Area Survival Center, but that's one of the reasons that we became partners with the Department of Transitional Assistance. I'm on their advisory board for the Greenfield office, and we share with them all of the things that are going on in the community on a quarterly basis. And that's how we became SNAP partners, so we can help those who have low income and qualify for SNAP and for low income heating assistance programs. And we have the certified training with our staff, including myself, for SNAP. So if people are struggling, you know, we're here as a resource. We're also working with the Mass in Motion grant. It's a combined grant for the 3 towns at $12,690 that we are in charge of because we had the existing intermunicipal agreement, where Chris has been spearheading the tax work-off program with members of all 3 towns. And prior to that, we worked on transportation, and for those who may not be aware, we got a partnership with the PVTA to come through and to start a bus route with us, going all the way from the Bangs Community Center, but now starting in Pelham because they have low-income housing there, that goes and stops at our Sunderland space and goes all the way up to Franklin Medical. That wasn't in existence before because they, you know, had that imaginary border with the regional transit authorities, but we really created that conversation. So our goal has been to, and we've made a lot of traction on, assisting people in our community who don't have the resources. And I think that's really important to see. We have houseless folks who've come to the center, regardless of age, needing assistance, and we've paired them up with different shelter programs and other resources, and they're now doing great. One person chooses to their current living condition, but our goal is to really help our community that we are part of ourselves. And Trevor and I will start going to the senior center around the same time. Right. So we are trying to create what we know is really needed. And it's not even our ideal location. You know, we've searched, and Jeff, we talked about that building, the Volvo Center, before. But as we came up with the 23 Plumtree Road, people from other towns didn't want to drive that far, as well as, you know, space and then the overall cost and the arguing about who will own the space. And I'm hoping 20 years is long enough for them to decide who will. But thank you so much for coming tonight. We're going to have additional community forums. There are also handouts with walkthrough tour dates for March. And there's also some frequently asked questions. So if you have additional questions that may not have been addressed, they're on here. And thank you so much for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.